Hey guys, Dave the On Station here. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of carrying a more tactical setup or a more basic setup when it comes to your concealed carry weapon choice. Now the first weapon that I have right here is my Glock 19. I've got a Vortex Venom red dot on there, as well as a TLR-1 HL weapon light made by Streamlight. The second weapon I have is going to be a Ruger SR 1911. This is going to be unloaded as well. So we'll talk about a more simple, or the more basic setup, pros and cons first. The pros to this are going to be it's the most cost effective, right? You don't have to spend all your extra money on the accessories. I think the Vortex Venom is in like the $250 range. The weapon light's about $140 or so. Holster options are a whole nother story. Right, so you just need your gun, a little bit of ammo, a holster, and you're ready to go. Some more pros to this are going to be reduced weight and bulk to your gun. Right, by adding more accessories, you're adding more weight. Now that can be considered a pro or a con. It depends on how you look at it. Right, it's a con in the sense that it adds more weight to the overall package. I know people are going to laugh when I'm talking about weight when I carry a full-size 1911. With that being said, this applies to all firearms, right? If you've got a stock Glock 19 or a Glock 19, like mine, that has an optic and a weapon light on there, those accessories are going to add weight to it. Now weight, like I said, can be pro or con when it comes to carrying it every day. It's uncomfortable. If you're sitting for long periods of time, if you're going on a road trip in your car, definitely having that bigger, bulkier stuff on there is going to make it a little bit more uncomfortable. When you have a heavier handgun, though, it can help when you're firing in rapid succession. So adding more weight to the front of your gun, especially when it comes to like weapon lights or whatever, is going to help reduce muzzle rise when you fire. And then having more weight on your firearm is going to help reduce the felt recoil impulse, meaning that your follow-up shots are going to be faster, you're going to be faster to get on target. That's pretty much it as far as pros. You're ready to go right out of the box. Some cons to this, I think, really have to do with the sights. Most handguns these days don't come with night sights on there. I know some do, but this particular weapon does not. And when it comes to shooting, especially if you're in a low light scenario or a home defense, self-defense situation, you need to know what your target is and what lies beyond it. So, my kind of scenarios that I run through are more geared around if I'm in my house and something crashes in the middle of the night. I'm not going to be pointing my gun out my door and shooting off into my kitchen or whatever. It could be my girlfriend going to get something from the fridge, or my dog knocked over the garbage can or something, right? You need to be able to see what the threat is and positively identify it as a threat to you or your family. So having a light is definitely beneficial. So I keep a handheld flashlight in my nightstand along with my weapon system. And that's kind of the only con to it is you're going to have a little bit more trouble positively identifying your target as a threat to you, before you pull that trigger. When it comes to a more tactical setup, such as my Glock, or any weapon that has accessories on it, such as an optic, a light, extended magazines, compensators, whatever, there's pros and cons to that as well. Some pros to that are especially when it comes to the light. It's super bright. It has a strobe function on there. It's going to aid in target identification. It could potentially give you a tactical advantage. When it comes to that strobe, it can help blind that person or disorient them. While you're getting positive identification on there. An optic is definitely very helpful when it comes to getting you on target faster. Right. There is a con with the optic. We'll talk about cons in a second. However, faster on target. It's easier to shoot with both eyes open if you have an optic. It's awesome. That being said, you do have to worry about battery life with your accessories, right? Anything with a battery can fail. So having some good backup iron sights is a plus. I haven't gotten around to putting suppressor height sights on there to accommodate my optic, to co-witness if I need to. My optic goes down and I need to maintain a firefight or maintain shooting posture. Like I said, kind of with the 1911, pro or con with the bulkiness by adding accessories. It definitely does add a significant amount of material on either side of the weapon, and with Glocks it's pretty uniform in the overall width. So by adding a weapon light, you're adding bulk. That means it's harder to conceal. You have to worry about printing a little bit more. However, I found if you wear like a button down or a sweatshirt or coat or whatever, you don't really have to worry too much about printing just due to the excess material covering it. Now, some cons to carrying a more tactical setup are, the first, like I said, is going to be batteries, right? You have to worry about battery life on your optic, because in an emergency situation, you're not going to have time to, hey, quick, let me turn my optic on before I, present my weapon. Whenever I go out with this weapon system, my optic is always on. So, depending on what model you get, your battery life can be from a couple hundred hours up to like 50,000 hours, depending on brightness setting, the type of battery you use, and the efficiency of the optic as well. Same kind of thing with the light. The light you don't have to worry about as much, just due to the fact that it's not on constantly. But if you train a lot with it, or if you practice, if you forget to leave or turn it off one time, you definitely have to consider replacing your batteries a lot sooner than you might think. Some more cons, like I said, with the optic. It's easier to shoot with both eyes open. However, it took me quite a while to get proficient with shooting with an optic on, just due to the fact that your point of aim is going to be a little bit higher, just due to the height of the optic versus iron sights. So it took me a good 1,000 rounds maybe to get proficient when I present my weapon and to maintain that red dot on your target before you start pulling the trigger. Some more cons to this are going to be, it's going to be more susceptible to snagging up or getting hung up on something when you draw it. Especially if you're in a self-defense situation, you're on the ground fighting, you're in your vehicle, whatever, having more stuff on here is going to potentially lead to more snags, especially with your optic up here, right? You could get caught up on your shirt, could get caught up on the seat belt, could get caught up on your pants, whatever, who knows what scenario you're in. And that's definitely something to consider. However, you can, that can kind of go away with training. You're not going to be prepared for every situation, but being able to draw your weapon effectively and efficiently is something that can be practiced and definitely should be practiced. Now, there's something that I don't think gets addressed enough when people start to carry weapons that have optics or accessories on them. Something you should consider a little bit more is your holster choice. So they make holsters specific to kind of genres of weapons sometimes. Like my 1911, this is a Galco King Tuck holster. It's an awesome holster. I definitely recommend this to anybody. And this can fit just about any 1911 on the market, regardless of the barrel length or whatever. When it comes to carrying something with with accessories on there, you have to consider not only the make and model of the gun, but also the make and model of the accessories on there. So there are some production holsters that are compatible with weapons that have lights and optics on them. However, those are more geared toward law enforcement. They're outside the waistband, they've got retention on them, etc., etc. Trying to find a holster that is compatible with accessories that goes inside the waistband takes a bit of digging. I found T-Rex Arms has an awesome product. I've used a few of their holsters. I've got another one in the mail right now. So for now, I'm using an old holster that I had to modify. So this right here was a holster that I got from a buddy of mine that was experimenting with Kydex. This originally had a sweat shield on there that I had to cut off, and then I kind of melted down to round out some of them sharp edges. But it works for my purposes. It clears the optic, it is compatible with the light, and it's inside the waistband. This is a little bit more uncomfortable just due to the fact that it's pure Kydex. There's not like any sort of padding on the inside, and that's kind of typically what you're going to be stuck with when it comes to accessories on your firearms with inside the waistband holsters. When it comes to a more basic setup, right? You've got some nice leather padding on there. It's going to be a little bit more conformed to your body. It has its advantages and disadvantages. However, I personally choose to carry my Glock a little bit more than my 1911, and I've dealt with the discomfort of having that holster on me. But it all comes down to training, right? Getting time in at the range is definitely going to be of the utmost importance when it comes to being prepared. Right, like I was talking about with the optic. If all of you've ever shot with your entire life is something, or are weapons with iron sights, it's different, right? You gotta change the angle of your head when you present your weapon. And being proficient with reloads, target identification, right? You can't just see your silhouette at the range and shoot bullseyes every time. You're going for center mass, and that's about it, trying to get as many rounds downrange as possible. And I know that's hard for some people if you're stuck at indoor ranges or staffed ranges where you can only fire certain rounds, or a certain like 1 round a minute, or 1 round a second, or 1 round every couple seconds, whatever. But in any sort of real situation, you're going to be shooting in rapid succession. So definitely find somewhere to train or figure out ways to make your first shot count, or first or second shot hit their mark, right? If you guys thought this video was helpful, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much.